Imagine a single river that feeds more than 60 million people across 6 countries. A river so important and life-giving that the people who depend on it call it the Mother of Waters. Its annual fish catch is one of the largest in the world. Its fertile delta produces rice that feeds entire nations. Yet this same river is now becoming one of the most dangerous in Asia. Upstream, China and Laos are building a cascade of giant dams, one after another, that are fundamentally changing the river's natural flow. Downstream, the water's disappearing. Fish stocks are collapsing. Entire ecosystems that have existed for thousands of years are breaking down. What was once a reliable source of life and prosperity is turning into a source of uncertainty, hunger, and conflict. Text na ekrani. The Mekong River, a river on the brink of crisis. This is the Mekong River, and today we're going to show you why it may soon trigger one of the biggest geopolitical and humanitarian crises of our time. The Mekong is not just a river. It is the lifeblood of an entire region. It flows 4,350 kilometers from the icy heights of the Tibetan Plateau through China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and finally Vietnam, before emptying into the South China Sea. Along its course, it supports more than 60 million people across 6 countries. The Mekong supports the largest inland fishery on the planet after the Amazon. Its delta in Vietnam is one of the most productive rice-growing regions on Earth, often called the Rice Bowl of Southeast Asia. For centuries, this river has fed millions and shaped cultures. It is the Mother of Waters, a source of food, transportation, culture, and spiritual life for generations. From the towering waterfalls in Laos to the endless green delta in Vietnam, the Mekong has been the heartbeat of Southeast Asia. Statistica na ekrani, 4,350 kilometers long, 60+ million people, second largest inland fishery, one of the world's most productive deltas. Statistically and emotionally, the Mekong is one of the most important rivers on our planet. Kamera povilno temnia, text na ekrani, text na ekrani. But that lifeblood is now under threat like never before. But that lifeblood is now under threat like never before. This is no longer just an environmental story. It has become a clear geopolitical struggle. China controls the headwaters. Laos wants to become the battery of Southeast Asia by selling electricity generated from Mekong dams. Cambodia and Vietnam, located downstream, are increasingly becoming victims of decisions made far upstream. The Mekong River Commission was created to manage the river cooperatively, but in reality, it exists mostly on paper and has almost no enforcement power. Downstream countries are growing increasingly frustrated and angry. As a result, Cambodia and Vietnam are quietly seeking support from the United States, Japan, and Australia. They are looking for diplomatic backing, investment in alternative energy, and technical help to monitor the river's flow. The Mekong River is rapidly turning into a new front in the larger struggle for influence in Southeast Asia, a contest between China's upstream power and the downstream countries' search for allies. What began as dams for electricity has become something far larger, a battle for control over the region's most vital natural resource. For thousands of years, the Mekong flowed freely, following its ancient rhythm of mighty floods and dry seasons. This incredible river, also known as the Mother of Water, is the 12th longest in the world and the 7th largest in Asia, stretching approximately 4,900 kilometers from the Tibetan Plateau to the South China Sea. It's a lifeline supporting over 60 million people across 6 countries: China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Ancient Khmer civilization built the magnificent Angkor Wat complex thanks in large part to the river's fertile annual floods. The Mekong didn't just provide water, it brought nutrient-rich silt that made the land incredibly productive, allowing for extensive rice cultivation and supporting a thriving economy. For centuries, the river was a source of life, abundance, and spiritual meaning, deeply woven into local traditions, festivals, and spiritual practices. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the Mekong became a political border. French colonial powers drew lines along the river. During the Vietnam War, it turned into a theater of conflict used for supply routes, patrol boats, and military operations. But the real transformation began in the 1990s. China started constructing large dams on the upper reaches of the Mekong, which they call the Mekong River. What began as domestic energy projects quietly evolved into something far more significant. These were not just power plants. By controlling the headwaters, upstream nations gained the ability to regulate how much water flows downstream. What started as energy projects quietly became control over the river itself. The construction of these hydroelectric dams has intensified, particularly in the Chinese section of the river since the early 2000s. These dams have dramatically affected the Mekong, leading to unseasonable flooding and droughts, low water levels, and a significant drop in sediment, crucial for the river's ecology and agriculture downstream. The Mekong is considered the second most biodiverse area on Earth, after the Amazon, home to 20,000 plant species, 1,200 birds, and 850 fish species, including the giant catfish and the endangered Irrawaddy dolphin. The disruption caused by dams threatens this rich biodiversity and the livelihoods of millions who depend on the river for food and sustenance. The river that once united Southeast Asia is now becoming a tool of control and a source of growing tension. China has already built 11 large dams on the upper Mekong, which they call the Mekong River, and has plans for several more. Laos is building even more dams, hoping to become the battery of Southeast Asia by exporting electricity to its neighbors. Together, China and Laos are creating a massive cascade of dams along the upper and middle reaches of the river. These dams don't just generate electricity, they give upstream countries the power to decide how much water flows downstream and when. During the dry season, water levels in Cambodia and Vietnam have dropped dramatically in recent years. Sandbars now appear where there used to be deep navigation channels. Fish migration routes are blocked by concrete walls. The natural flood poles that fed the Tonle Sap Lake, the beating heart of Cambodia's freshwater fishery, is being severely disrupted. Texna Akrani, control upstream equals control downstream. What began as energy projects has quietly become something much larger: control over the river itself, and that control is reshaping the future of Southeast Asia. The consequences are no longer predictions. They are already visible and devastating. Fish populations have collapsed in many areas. Species that once sustained entire communities are disappearing at an alarming rate. The giant Mekong catfish, one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, and the Mekong stingray are now on the brink of extinction. In the delta, rice farmers are losing harvest after harvest. Saltwater intrusion is spreading further inland because there is not enough fresh water flowing down from upstream. Unpredictable water levels make it almost impossible to plan planting seasons. Entire communities that have depended on the Mekong for generations are being forced to migrate. Fishing villages that thrived for centuries are emptying. What was once a reliable source of food, income, and cultural identity is turning into a source of uncertainty, poverty, and conflict. The river that once gave life so generously is now taking it away. The ecological balance that sustained millions for thousands of years is collapsing before our eyes. Texna Akrani, from lifeblood to crisis. What was once the mother of waters is becoming a river of uncertainty and loss. If current trends continue, the Mekong River faces a bleak future. By 2050, the river could lose up to 40% of its flow during the dry season. New dams already planned in Laos and China will only intensify this problem, further reducing the amount of water reaching downstream countries. Some experts warn of water wars in Southeast Asia. We may witness mass migration from the delta, collapse of Cambodia's Tonle Sap fishery, and severe food insecurity across the region. The Mekong Delta, one of the world's most important rice baskets, could become largely unproductive. Without strong, binding international cooperation and transparent data sharing, these scenarios are not just possible, they are likely. The river that once united Southeast Asia may soon divide it, turning neighbors into competitors over the most precious resource of the 21st century, water. The Mekong is no longer just a river. It has become a test of whether humanity can manage shared natural resources in an era of climate change and great power competition. The question is no longer whether the Mekong will change. The question is whether we will change how we manage it before it's too late. The Mekong River teaches us a hard truth. Rivers do not respect borders, but power does. What happens upstream affects everyone downstream. The story of the Mekong is not just about a river in Asia. It is a warning about how humanity is changing the fundamental systems that sustain us. The question is no longer whether we can control the river, but whether we are wise enough not to destroy it. So tell me, who do you think should control the future of the Mekong River? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you love stories about the hidden forces shaping our world, smash that like button and subscribe. See you in the next one.